Hi guys, and welcome back to another video Game with the Powers. I'm Jake, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing an in-depth review over one of the new expansions for the card game Doomlings called Shadow Puppets, alright? If you guys are not familiar with the card game Doomlings, essentially it's a game very much like Unstable Unicorns, Here to Slay, Exploding Kittens, right? A very family-friendly style game where you're going to have a hand of trait cards, and these trait cards are going to have a bunch of silly names and funny stuff on them, and they're going to have point values that you're going to be playing these trait cards from your hand. Some trait cards are going to have actions, effects, things like that, and at the end of the game you are going to add up the number of points that are on the cards in your trait pile, and the player with the most points is the winner. Now, as I mentioned, guys, in today's video, we are taking a look at the Shadow Puppets expansion. This is one of three new expansions for the card game Doomlings. You had Shadow Puppets, you had Castle Glass, which I just did my review on that the other day, and then you have a brand new Mayoko Village expansion. Now, if you want all three of these, they have a new bundle. Let me get my phone out very quickly and see this new bundle they just released is the Nightflower Island bundle, right? Where you can pick kind of all three of these expansions up, or you can buy them individually. I'll go ahead and drop that link down below if you guys are interested. Very much like the Castle Glass expansion, guys, since this is an expansion and not a core game, we are not going to go super in-depth like we normally do with a lot of our reviews. However, I still am going to briefly highlight and talk about these 7 different categories before I give my overall rating for this one. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump right in and talk about the theme. So the theme of Shadow Puppets expansion is going to be this darker, shadowy style theme, right? Puppeteers and ventriloquists and creepy dolls and things like that. Now, it is going to bring some Doomlings that you might be familiar with if you own the Imaginary Ends expansion, which is going to be Deeplings, Moonlings, Glitterlings, and Fuzelings. But other than that, this theme here is not adding any new mechanics whatsoever. It is basically just a rebrand is kind of the wrong word, kind of like a reskin almost, where they've taken those Deeplings, those Moonlings, those Glitterlings, and Fuzelings, right, from that Imaginary Ends expansion, which is very colorful and rainbows and things like that, and they've added a darker, shadowy style motif, creepier vibe to this one. Now, for me personally, I was not a huge fan of the shadowy, darker, creepy kind of vibe. I think Doomlings is one of those games where it's bright, it's colorful, it's very family friendly, it's approachable, right? And I could see that some of these traits can be in here. While the artwork is phenomenal and fantastic, can be off-putting for some of the people that play this one. But to each his own, and I'm sure there are going to be some people who really enjoy this Shadow Puppets expansion. Really quickly, guys, before we move over with the video, I want to go ahead and jump down to the table, show you some of these cards and things that would come in this particular expansion if you are interested in it, and then we'll be back up here to talk about the rest of my review. All right, guys, so down here at the table, you can see this is the box for the Shadow Puppets expansion. We got the 40 cards and 1 hollow foil, and on the back it says the fate of Doomlings hangs by a thread. Pull the strings of your fellow players and lead your species to victory by world's end. And you can see those are the 4 different, it shows those are the 4 different, drop that down there we go. Those are the 4 different traits that are coming in here. It requires Doomlings base game to play, and you can add in the Imaginary Ends expansion for more fun. So this is the overall Shadow Puppets thing. You're going to get 31 trait cards, 6 dominance, 2 ages, and 1 catastrophe. And again, it's got the Doomlings, the Moonlings, the Deeplings, the Moonlings, the Glitterlings, and the Puppeteers. So you'll get 1 hollow foil card. Alrighty, you will get 2 ages, so very spooky Halloween style vibe, and then you will get 1 catastrophe as well, and then you will have the different types of traits. So you got the Fuzelings, right? You can see some of them. You got the Deeplings, which are gonna bring in this suppress mechanic, which if you are familiar with the Imaginary Ends expansion, what this will allow you to do is you can hide a card face down in your trait pile underneath a card, and they're gonna be 1 point each, but you can see kind of these cards are just a very dark, shadowy, creepy style vibe to some of them. Glitterlings, you know, these are the, this one's cute. I really love that one. But you can see they're kind of ventriloquist dummies, they're puppeteers, they're things like that. And then we got the Moonlings on deck. But these are all the cards that you would see in your expansion box if you were to get them. Really quickly, guys, I want to stay down here and talk about the components like we always do. So this is actually adding in, again, 40 new cards, right? And I do think the artwork is really done really well. Like, I love the artwork on this. I love the full art on the cards here that they have. I think they've done a great job with the shadowy style, the different colors, and how they kind of blend everything together. But other than that, not a whole lot of changes to the components. There's a lot of standard stuff you would see in the typical base game of Doomlings and any other expansion that you might see. All right, guys, let's talk about the setup. So because this is a smaller expansion, the setup with this is going to be straightforward. You're shuffling the cards in. There's going to be no major board or mechanics that are required with this one. And so the ease of adding it to the game is a very strong plus. It's very easy to add this one to the game. Just get the cards up, shuffle them in, throw them in the base game, and you guys are ready to go. Let's talk about the length. So basically the same thing as the setup. The length of a Doomling session is going to remain the same when adding in this expansion, because essentially you are not adding in any other mechanics. There's no additional final scoring except for cards that get suppressed underneath are going to be +1. Again, if you guys are familiar with the Imaginary Ends expansion, there's going to be no new changes to this whatsoever, so will not affect anything at all. If you guys are not familiar with the Imaginary Ends expansion, there are not a lot of cards that have that suppressed mechanic, so it's really not going to change the length of the game at all here. So that's another plus as well. Let's talk about the difficulty. So there is no change in the difficulty either when it comes to this expansion. All the terminology and things are going to be the same except for that suppressed mechanic. And like I just said, there's maybe, I think, only 6 cards in this expansion that have that suppressed mechanic. So it is rarely that you'll see that come out, or if it does, you're not going to be suppressing a bunch of cards consistently. So I think there is no difficulty change from the base game of Doomlings. Let's talk replayability. Look, I think the replayability with this expansion is just okay, because again, you're not adding in any new mechanics. There's nothing new that is in this expansion other than the artwork on the cards and the vibe and the theme and the style like that. So for me, I think it's just okay. Being a player that has a bunch of Doomlings expansion, I have already seen all of this stuff before in terms of gameplay, mechanically, and things like that. So you're just adding in newer cards that look different. And for me, that's just an okay. Last but not least, let's talk about the price. So this one is going for $17.99 on the Doomlings website. And very much like the Castle Glass expansion, guys, I think $17.99 is a little overpriced, especially for an expansion that is not really adding in anything new or anything fresh, right? This one, I think even at $14.99 would be a stretch. Maybe $11.99 or $12.99 or something like that would be a better value to me personally in this one, just again, because it's not adding in anything new. They've just basically taken a new theme or new skin kind of, and just put them on some of the base game cards. And what I mean by that is they've just taken generic Doomling cards that they've created themselves. They're not previous Doomling cards. They've created a whole new set of Doomlings cards with new names and things like that, but I've just given it basically a shadowy ventriloquist dummy style of theme. But there's no new mechanics. There's no additional changes to the game. So for me, because you're not really getting anything new per se other than a look, I think $18 is a little bit pricey. All right, guys, All in all, let's go ahead and jump into my overall rating. So I'm gonna go ahead and give these Shadow Puppets a 6.5 out of 10. Look guys, I wasn't a big fan personally of the Shadow Puppets expansion for a number of reasons. Number one, it just doesn't add anything new mechanically to the game. I have seen everything in this expansion before in the Imaginary Ends expansion, except for the fact that they've just given this a darker, shadowy, Halloween style vibe. And for me, I just didn't want that with my Doomlings package. Like, as I said, Doomlings is a very bright and colorful and quirky style game and all these different colors and very approachable for a family. And so for me, I think giving it a shadowy or darker style vibe was not something that I particularly enjoyed. But you know, hey look, there are people that like that Halloween shadowy dark style vibe, and this might be a great expansion for you. I also don't think there's a lot of good value at $18 with this one because you're not adding anything. I think you guys would just be better off paying the $25, getting that Imaginary Ends expansion. You get 5 expansions for that. You get all the same cards, the Deeplings, the Moonlings, the Glitterlings, the Fuzelings that are in this one as well, but you get a lot more content. So 175 or 150 plus cards in that box compared to this one for only $7 more. But all in all, look, I still think it's an okay expansion. This expansion is really going to appeal to people that like that dark shadow style vibe. If you do, then hey, this is going to be a great expansion for you. But if you're like, I really don't care about the shadow style vibe, and if you're just looking for more content, this one would be a pass for me. All right guys, well, you heard it for 6.5 out of 10 is my overall rating. If you guys enjoy this content, smash that like button, hit that notification bell, drop down in the comments below. Have you guys seen the Shadow Puppets expansion? Are you excited for this one? Did you get this, yes or no? Last but not least, if you guys are not subscribed to our channel, please go and subscribe so we can keep bringing some more awesome content. All right guys, have a great one. Bye.